Ever feel like there are just too many big ideas out there and not enough time to really get to grips with them?
Yeah, it can be a little overwhelming for sure.
That's exactly why we do these deep dives, right? So today we're tackling Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, a pretty influential book, and I'm betting a lot of our listeners have at least heard of it, if not actually read it.
Oh, definitely a modern classic.
So our goal today is to distill it down, give you the core message, the practical takeaways, the stuff that can really make a difference in your life. No need to get bogged down in every little detail.
Sounds good to me. Ready to dive in?
Absolutely. So what really struck me is that the power of now isn't just some abstract philosophy. It comes straight from Tolle's own experience. This guy went through a profound personal transformation, then spent a decade working with others.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so compelling. It's not just theory. It's road-tested wisdom, born out of real struggle and a deep desire to find peace.
Right. And it all started with this thought that kept repeating in his head, I cannot live with myself any longer.
Wow, that's heavy stuff.
It sounds desperate, but it actually turned out to be a turning point.
How so?
Well, it led him to ask this really fundamental question. Am I one or two? If there was an I that couldn't live with the self, it meant there was a separation within him.
Ah, I see. Like he was split between two selves.
Exactly. And this realization was huge. It was like a crack in the foundation of his identity, his sense of self.
And then what happened?
So from there, things got even wilder. He describes this sudden stillness, like all thought just stopped. But he's still completely aware.
Wait, so his mind went quiet, but he didn't lose consciousness?
Yeah, that's the key point. And then he felt this pull, like a vortex of energy drawing him in. It started gently, but then intensified. He even felt fear, physical trembling.
Sounds intense.
It was. But right in the middle of all that, this clear instruction popped up in his mind. Resist nothing. And that right there became a cornerstone of his whole teaching.
Interesting. So he's saying that resisting what is, whether it's a feeling or a situation, is what causes us so much pain?
Exactly. And after that, he felt himself being pulled into what he called a void. But he experienced it as an inner space, not like an external abyss. And then the fear just vanished, and he let himself sink into it.
That's fascinating. That void experience is often talked about in spiritual traditions. It's like a state of pure potentiality before anything is defined.
Yeah, and he has no memory of what happened right after that. Like his usual consciousness just completely shut off.
So how did he come back?
Well, he woke up to the sound of a bird singing. But the sound was incredibly clear, vivid. He even had a mental image of a diamond, and even imagined its sound, even though his eyes were still closed.
So his senses were heightened. It's like the world became more vibrant, more alive.
Exactly. And when he finally opened his eyes and saw the dawn light, he felt this overwhelming sense of awe. He just knew intuitively that there was an infinite depth to that light, and he perceived it as love itself. He even started crying.
Wow, that's powerful. It's like he experienced love directly without any mental filters.
Right. And then he started walking around his room, a place he knew so well, but it felt completely new, fresh, pristine is the word he uses. Even everyday objects like a pencil or an empty bottle struck him with their beauty and aliveness.
That's so cool. It's like he was seeing the world for the first time with fresh eyes.
And it was in that moment that he had this realization. His true nature wasn't his body, his thoughts, or any of that. It was pure consciousness, the awareness that's always there before anything else.
Ah, so he's saying there's a difference between who we think we are, our ego, and our true essential being, which is pure consciousness.
Exactly. And after that initial awakening, he learned to consciously tap into that inner timeless and deathless realm. And he experienced these incredible states of bliss and sacredness, even more intense than the first breakthrough.
And this wasn't dependent on anything external, right? No possessions, no achievements, just pure inner joy.
Exactly. It's like a wellspring of happiness that's always there within us, waiting to be tapped into.
But how do we access it?
That's the big question. And later, when people would see his state of being and ask how they could experience something similar, he'd say, you have it already. You just can't feel it because your mind is making too much noise.
That's a pretty profound statement. So the peace and joy are already there, but our own thoughts are blocking them out.
Exactly. And that's the essence of the power of now. He goes on to say that the book itself came out of his work with spiritual seekers over a decade. He was teaching seminars, leading meditation classes, doing one-on-one counseling.
So this isn't just him theorizing. It's based on real interactions with people struggling with the same issues we all face.
Right. And he says the book is specifically for people who are ready for radical inner transformation.
But even if you're not quite there yet, even if you're just curious, it can still be incredibly valuable.
Absolutely. Sometimes just being exposed to these ideas can plant a seed. It might not sprout right away, but it's there.
And it's interesting that he chose to write the book in a question and answer format.
Yeah, it's because that's how his teachings naturally unfolded. People would ask him questions and he'd respond, and sometimes even he was surprised by the clarity of the answers that came through.
So it's like a dialogue, a back and forth exchange of insights.
Exactly. And our goal in this deep dive is to bring those key insights to you, to help you understand the power of the present moment, the nature of the mind and the ego, and the possibility of freedom from suffering.
Ultimately, it's about finding a more peaceful and joyful way of being. And that's something we all want, right?
Absolutely. So let's recap some of the key takeaways from The Power of Now. One of the most fundamental is this: you are not your mind. Your mind is a tool, but it often gets stuck in these loops of negative thinking.
And it's so easy to get caught up in those loops. We believe everything our minds tell us, and that creates a lot of unnecessary suffering.
Right. But the good news is we can learn to observe our thoughts without getting carried away by them.
Exactly. It's about creating that space between you, the observer, and the thoughts themselves. And that's where freedom lies.
Another central concept is the power of the now. Tolle says the present moment is the only reality we have. But we spend so much time dwelling on the past or worrying about the future.
That's what he calls psychological time. And it's a trap. We get so caught up in our mental projections that we miss out on the beauty and richness of what's happening right now.
Exactly. And by shifting our attention to the present moment, we can break free from that cycle of suffering.
It's not always easy, but it's definitely worth the effort.
Tolle also talks about the pain body. This is basically an accumulation of past emotional pain that we carry around with us.
Yeah, and it can be sneaky. It can lie dormant for a while, then suddenly get triggered and take over our experience.
But by simply observing the pain body without judgment, we can start to heal it.
It's like shining a light on it. When we bring awareness to it, it loses its power over us.
Then there's the ego. This is the false sense of self that our minds create. It's always seeking validation from the outside world through possessions, status, opinions.
And it's constantly comparing itself to others, which leads to feelings of inadequacy and fear.
The key is to recognize the ego for what it is, a mental construct. It's not who we really are.
And when we can see through the ego's illusions, we can start to connect with our true selves.
Which brings us to presence and being. By becoming more present, more aware of the ego, now we start to withdraw energy from the egoic mind.
And that allows us to tap into a deeper dimension of ourselves, a place of peace, joy, and connection.
Tolle also emphasizes acceptance and surrender. Now, this doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive.
Right. It's more about acknowledging what is without resistance. It's about letting go of the need to control everything.
And when we surrender, we open ourselves to a higher power, a greater intelligence.
It's like saying yes to life, even when it's challenging.
And it's interesting, Tolle also points to the physical body as a gateway to the now. By simply feeling the sensations in our bodies, we can ground ourselves in the present moment.
Yeah, it's about paying attention to the subtle sensations of breathing, of touch, of movement. It's a way to bypass the thinking mind and connect directly with our physical experience.
And then there's this idea of transformation through consciousness. Tolle believes that as more and more people awaken to their true nature, it creates a ripple effect that benefits all of humanity.
It's like we're all connected, and our individual journeys of awakening contribute to a larger collective shift.
And that's pretty inspiring, right? To think that by cultivating our own inner peace, we're actually contributing to a more peaceful world.
Absolutely. It's like a virtuous cycle.
Tolle also offers a different perspective on good and bad. He suggests that these are just labels that our minds create.
Right, and they cause us a lot of suffering. We get attached to things being a certain way, and then we resist when they change.
But if we can let go of those judgments, we can experience a deeper level of peace and acceptance.
It's about seeing things from a higher perspective, beyond the duality of good and bad.
He also reminds us that everything is impermanent. Everything in the manifested world is subject to cycles of creation and destruction.
And clinging to things creates suffering. True peace comes from accepting the impermanence of all things.
And from that place of acceptance, compassion naturally arises. When we realize that we're all connected, that we're all part of the same source, we start to see others with more understanding and empathy.
We see beyond the masks that people wear, and we recognize the shared humanity that binds us all.
And finally, Tolle clarifies that surrender is not about giving up on life. It's actually a powerful way to tap into a greater source of energy and wisdom.
It's about aligning ourselves with the flow of life rather than resisting it.
And when we do that, we open ourselves to infinite possibilities.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a question for you. What would it be like to live more fully in the present moment?
To let go of the past and the future, even just for a little while, and really savor the richness of this very moment.
What would shift in your experience if you simply brought your attention back to the now over and over again throughout the day?
Remember, the power is within you in this very moment. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the power of now.
We hope you found it insightful.
Until next time, stay curious, stay present, and keep diving deep.
See you next time. Bye.